the season to be jolly. Merry Christmas from Real Country.
Tell your friends to listen here for classic country favorites.
Oh, just hear those sleigh bells jingling, ring, ting, tingling too. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. Outside the snow is falling and friends are calling you. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, let's go. Let's look at the show. We're riding in a wonderland of snow. Giddy up, giddy up, giddy up, it's grand, just holding your hand. We're gliding along with the song of a wintry fairyland. Our cheeks are nice and rosy and comfy, cozy are we. We're snuggled up together like two birds of a feather would be. Let's take the road before us and sing a chorus or two. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. There's a birthday party at the home of Farmer Gray. It'll be the perfect ending to a perfect day. We'll be singing the songs we love to sing without a single stop. At the fireplace while we watch the chestnuts pop. Pop, pop, pop. There's a happy feeling nothing in the world can buy when they pass around the chocolate and the pumpkin pie. It'll nearly be like a picture print by Currier and Ives. These wonderful things are the things we remember for all our lives. These wonderful things are the things we remember for all our life. Just hear those sleigh bells jingling, ring, ting, tingling too. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. Outside the snow is falling and friends are calling you. Come on, it's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you. It's lovely weather for a sleigh ride together with you.
92.5, 96.5.
Real Country.
He gets up before the dawn, packs a lunch and a thermos full of coffee. It's another day in the dusty haze. His burning rays are wearing down his body. The diesel's worth the price of gold. It's the cheapest grain he's ever sold, but he's still holding on. He just takes the tractor another round and pulls the plow across the ground and sends up another prayer. He says, Lord, I never complain, I never ask why. Please don't let my dreams run dry. Underneath this Amarillo sky. That hailstorm back in '83 sure did take a toll on his family. He stayed strong and carried on, just like his dad and granddad did before him. On his knees every night he prays, please let my crops and children grow, 'cause that's all he's ever known. He just takes the tractor another round and pulls the plow across the ground and sends up another prayer. He says, Lord, I never complain, I never ask why. Please don't let my dreams run dry. Underneath this Amarillo sky.
920 WGHQ, 1260 WBNR.
Good morning. You're now listening to Kingston Community Radio, airing on FM 92.5 and AM 920 WGHQ in Kingston, New York. This programming is brought to you by our listeners and corporate underwriters who are interested in presenting local community radio. The opinions expressed on this program do not represent those of Pamel Broadcasting or Kingston Community Radio. Listeners are encouraged to send in $10 per month to help bring this program to you. Mail your contributions to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York, 12402. For more information or to donate online, visit our website at mykcr.org. And good morning, this is Dan Gatis, and thank you for tuning in, sharing the morning with us this December 23rd. Super Wednesday, 30 degrees. And some sun this morning with increasing clouds this afternoon, a high of 37, and tonight, mostly cloudy with a 40% chance of showers after midnight, a low of 27, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
Good.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace, learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org. Because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Dina Roy from Hurley, and I support the Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
Thank you for being with us this morning, and thank you for tuning in to 920 AM or 92.5 FM, or you're streaming online at mykcr.org. 845-331-9255 is our call-in number. That's your call-in number, 331-9255, to talk to our hosts and guests. And today, Greg Shorvis is in the on-air studio, and we're kicking off quite smartly this morning. How are you, Greg?
Quite smartly?
Yeah, we're kicking off quite smartly, right?
Okay, so we're kicking off quite smartly here. Thank you, Dan Gatis,
Absolutely.
And good morning, listeners, 331-9255. Just me here in the studio physically, and Dan in the control tower, but we've got Fred Costello, supervisor from the town of Saugerties, on virtually. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, Dan. How's
Good morning.
doing?
We are doing. Don't ask what, but we are doing, right? on this eve of Christmas Eve. And just a note for our listeners who may be traveling south on the thruway from Saugerties and points north, there is quite a serious accident about 2.5 miles north of the Kingston thruway interchange. It's down to one lane. There's a lot of fire apparatus and EMS. Look what appeared to be quite a serious accident. It looked like a it was hard to tell in the dark, completely charred vehicle. So hopefully there were no serious injuries or, God forbid, any deaths that the occupants got out. But just be cautious. It is down. There's one lane open, but obviously, as the morning commute builds, it may get backed up.
Part of the weather warnings also include the conditions that create black ice. So
Sure.
Please look out, those curves where the water pours across the road, those kinds of things. That black ice is definitely there this morning. So please be careful how you drive and where you're driving, and look for that.
And it's always this period of time right around sunrise where the temperature will drop. When I left the house this morning, it was 32 degrees. By the time I was getting off the thruway, it was 29, and I wouldn't be a bit surprised it's 28 or 27 as we speak.
Yeah, I think it's right at hovering around 30 in uptown Kingston today.
So we have a good lineup of guests this morning.
We've weather coming though, because we're gonna have the risk of ice and snow, but it looks like we're gonna get a lot of rain.
Yeah, some of the models are saying upwards of 2 inches. There's another one that's a little about more than a little over, about like 2.6. I think that's an outlier, but a lot of wind and a lot of rain, and of course with the amount of snow that's on the ground, there's going to be a fast snow melt. A lot of the catch basins are clogged, or right now are covered in snow. So it may not be a bad idea if you live near a street corner, anywhere where outside of your home there is a catch basin. It would be a good idea to clear that catch basin.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good recommendation, Greg. The highway crews are still reeling from the storm, and I'm sure they did not have all of the opportunity to go get all those catch basins cleared away. And with the amount of rain that's coming, you can avoid some aggravation in your own home or your neighbor's home if you just open the snow up off the top of that. Those drainage systems will work much better if the snow is clear.
Yes. Yes.
At the end of the show, I'm going to follow up with our highway superintendent, Doug Meyer. There's some, and this is probably true of every town, there are some areas that fall into this situation pretty regularly, and there's a few hot spots around Sargis that we'd like to take a look at.
Yes, and there's and of course with the fact that besides the rain that falls there's going to be some rapid snow melt. And that's just going to add to it. So what might normally be an inch or 2 inch rainfall that has to be absorbed by the stormwater system, that now could easily translate into 3+ inches of water.
Yeah, that would be a challenge. That would be a challenge in a short amount of time. And people should think about their gutters a little bit and their own areas around their home to make sure that the opportunities for the water to shed exist and get away from your foundations.
Very good point.
Winter.
Good point.
Geez. Yeah.
Well, that's the other thing. There was still a lot of leaves on the ground prior to this snowfall, so that there could even add to the problems.
Yeah, I was thinking about the gutters. There were still some leaves falling. I don't imagine everybody had the opportunity to get out there and clean their gutters, so that could be a risk as well.
Sure. So we got a nice lineup this morning at 7:35. March Gallagher is going to be joining us. And then at the 8 o'clock hour, our state assemblyman, Kevin Cahill. Will be here.
Perfect. Sounds exciting.
Now, by any chance, do you have that email that Bill McKenna sent with the Christmas Eve event? I printed it, and I thought for sure I threw it in the car. I got down here this morning, and I didn't have it. So I must have left it in the office, and my phone will erases automatically emails, and I think it was more than 7 days ago. But possibly Bill could call in and mention, because that's quite an event that they have every single year. They are having it this year.
Bring in Santa.
What's that?
Yeah, they really make a special event out of Santa coming to town.
Yes.
I'm looking, Greg. I think I do have that. March is not going to be able to join us this morning.
Okay.
So it will be us for a little while. We have, she had a commitment she was forgetting about, and she will be back with us next month. Which we don't want to wish everybody a happy holiday and safe holiday.
Yeah, I'm looking for it as you're looking for it, and I just and he didn't have my email address, so I believe it came from Terry. Oh well,
we'll find it.
I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will.
We'll find it.
So what else you got going?
We are trying, still catching up a little bit.
I imagine you are.
Terry's back with me in the office. She's doing great. So's her husband, so that's all good news.
Oh, that's good to hear.
And,
that's very good to hear.
Yeah, we're just trying to plan some of the end of the year stuff. We just got our state checks for chips and for AIM funding came in about 2 weeks ago, and they were not penalized. They came in at the amounts we were anticipating. So
including the chips, the chips funding.
Yes. So that's pretty great news for this year's budget, and as we go into 2021, which I think is going to have its own set of challenges, I think we're going to be in pretty decent shape, which is comforting. And hopefully, and I know you have this hope as well, we will find a way to get reimbursement for some of the money we laid out to make the building safer for users and our employees by putting up the sneeze guards and some of the other modifications we did. And hopefully we can get some reimbursement with regard to those. And that will, if we can do that, that'll make us largely whole for the expenditures we made, minus the, we did do some changes to labor. We did the work share program during the summer. Obviously, your staff was not supported by as much part-time help as we would normally do in a year where we had the normal amount of activity. So those cost-saving measures combined with some of the other stuff, it looks like we're going to finish the year on a fairly solid footing, which is good news.
Yeah, and I certainly wasn't expecting. I don't think you were or Doug with the CHIPS funding. I think we were all anticipating about at least a 20% reduction, but haven't heard what you just said. The AIM funding and the fact that, as you know, there was expenditures we put off to cover in case we did not get any reimbursement. And I still think, although it's going to be 2021, obviously, and when they release the details of the of this stimulus that Congress just voted on, I didn't have to go very far because you didn't get too far into the thing where there was no funding in that $9 million or $1 billion, package for state or local governments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's not coming. It's not coming now. Maybe in the second round or a third round, or just it's.
It looks like from the news that's in jeopardy. That whole, even though it passed the Senate and Congress, it looks like the president does not want to sign it. And
oh boy, I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
That's news to me.
Yeah, it was. As I was getting dressed to do the show, I had the news on, and that was the opening story that the president said he won't sign the bill. And I was like, oh boy. And you're right. There were a couple of things in order to get the bill through Congress and the Senate that they left out, and one of the big things was the state and local aid, and I think at some point, there was some state funding assistance in there, but I guess New York City and some of the large cities were left out entirely. And I just don't see without some help, they're going to find themselves in really difficult financial situations.
Yeah, in the States, in the larger cities, especially New York City, they're going to suffer more than towns and villages. Just like the counties are going to suffer more than the towns and the townships and the villages.
Yep. It's pretty tough. So, I don't know. And there's so many folks from New York City up here right now, and I'm out and about enough that I get the opportunity to talk to them, and it's a little bit depressing to hear their analysis of what it's like right now, and some of them are very pessimistic that New York City will return. I personally think it will. Its legacy for generations has been kind of that ebb and flow, and certainly this presents a unique challenge, but I just feel like New York City is so special and so unique that it will find its way back. I mean, it takes some time, but it will certainly find its way back, and it's one of the primary gateway cities to our country.
Yeah, and I believe that that is going to be the case. How long that takes, I think that's anybody's guess. We heard basically the same after 9/11.
Yes,
of course,
did.
now this coming on the heels. I say on the heels. I realize it's been almost 20 years. It'll be 20 years next year. I think you're going to see, though, that the population of the city will more than likely drop, because even though people will still maintain jobs and positions in the city, they they very, very well may continue to do what they've been doing for the past 9 months, and that's working from home.
Yeah, agreed. I think that's exactly one of the changes that will, at some percentage, there will be people who embrace and continue to work remotely. And that will happen. And I think the migration of the financial system will also continue. And I think that was happening anyway. But I do think the pandemic definitely accelerated those trends. And that you can still see from 9/11. During 9/11, downtown New York, Wall Street was the financial hub. And then because there was so much devastation, a lot of those companies moved to Midtown in New Jersey. And that change was permanent. Some larger financial institutions are in Midtown, J.P. Morgan among them. And to the degree that they have been able to export jobs during the pandemic, that was a trend that was happening anyway. And interestingly, too, I read an article when J.P. Morgan, when Jamie Dimon took over, there was like 2 floors of Midtown office space that were dedicated to a server farm. And he's like, does that need to be here? We're paying X amount of dollars per square foot for this real estate. Can't it be someplace else? And the obvious answer is, of course. And those server farms might have ended up in Poughkeepsie because the networking and the infrastructure is strong enough to support that. So there certainly will be trends that were underway prior to the pandemic that will continue past. But there's no way to transplant Broadway. There's no way to transplant all those things that we go to New York City to enjoy and for. And there will certainly be changes in the job market, but that's just the way things go. I mean, even after the Amazon proposal failed, Amazon moved into New York City, and they ended up in Hudson Yards, and they took over huge sections of those buildings, and that's happening and it's underway. It's certainly not the scale of the proposal they originally proposed, but it's an important marketplace, and it's an area where there's a unique talent of people who can be productive and good employees. So I do believe it'll come back.
I agree. And it was only recently that Amazon announced. Was it in Orange County or Dutchess County? Where
It
they're
was Duchess.
building a large distribution
Yeah.
center. And one of the things that the point that they made is with distribution, Amazon distribution centers, the jobs are more permanent versus seasonal.
Yeah. It's incredible to watch the growth of that company.
Yeah, and I forget the number of jobs and the economic impact. And if any of our listeners are out there that know, there's just so much going on in the world right now and so much news to absorb on a daily basis, you can't remember it all. But I know, I think you're right. I think it was Dutchess County because if I remember correctly, Mark Molinaro had a press conference on it. Although that might have been with the Yankees and the Renegades there, so I'm not sure. But you could very well be right that it's Dutchess County. But either way, it's up in our region, and people in Saugerties, in Ulster County, very well land jobs at that new facility.
Yep. All right, so I have Bill's announcement.
Oh, good.
I'm going to do that real quick.
Yes.
So they have Community Christmas Eve program, Woodstock, New York. The biggest secret of the holiday season in Woodstock, New York, Santa Claus is coming to town, our town, but this year he will be masked by his whiskers and be socially distant. For more than 80 years, Santa has been arriving in Woodstock on Christmas Eve, each time in a new and wonderful way. The village green has been transformed into a holiday postcard scene. The huge Christmas tree is decorated with hundreds of lights, music fills the air, and Santa gives stockings to the children. This year's events will be different due to safety precautions, so everyone can have an opportunity to enjoy a healthy Christmas with family and friends. The celebration will be held from 5 to 7 p.m., with elves handing out stockings to cars as they pass by, and children waving to Santa. The drive-thru will be held at Woodstock Fire Company number 1, located at 242 Tinker Street in Woodstock, New York. In the weeks leading up to this event, holiday boxes of food and cheer baskets are packed and delivered to those in need of something a little extra for the holiday season. The Christmas program is funded entirely through generous donations, and we want to make this Christmas special even though it is not conventional. If you are interested in keeping this program for the future and want to make a contribution, you may take it or send it to the Woodstock branch of the Mid-Hudson Valley Credit Union at 85 Mill Road, Woodstock, New York, 12498. So they're doing it. They're doing their annual event. They're just going to do it a little differently. And with the drive-through situation, it sounds very similar to what we did a couple Sundays back here in Saugerties.
Yes, it does. That's good. That's good. They're able to continue on with that tradition and do it in a safe manner. Because let's face it, there's not a lot of stuff going on that people can get to enjoy. Where this time of the year, we're normally saying there's just too many things that we just can't get to enjoy because of the number of them. Well, this year it's the direct opposite.
Yep, exactly.
And just as a reminder to our listeners, we speak about things to do, enjoying yourselves. We are going to expand on the public skating at the Kiwanis Ice Arena as we've done in the past, and that those additional public skates start tomorrow and run right through the would be January the 1st, New Year's Day. With the amount of private ice we have on weekends, we're not able to expand, and there's just one each day, Saturday and Sunday. But during the week, there are expanded sessions. You can go onto the website, or you can contact the Kiwanis Ice Arena. Right now, we're 50 per session is the max. There's going to be a different flow compared to what we've been doing for the singular public sessions since we've opened. We've come up with some new and some pretty cool ideas with keeping people socially distanced. We actually had a team meeting on site yesterday afternoon to finalize things, and everybody will be assigned a number, and they'll go to their numbered spot, and that's where they'll put their skates on and go immediately onto the ice. Same policy remains in place. Doors open 15 minutes before a session, so if you get there early, you need to wait in your car, you need to wait outside. Once you come off the ice and put your shoes back on, you need to immediately vacate the building through a separate set of doors from what you came in at. So one way in, one way out, and the time limit has been increased threefold to 45 minutes between sessions to allow for cleaning and sanitizing. So we're going to see how it goes, and hopefully it's always an extremely busy time. Many of our sessions generally sell out, and when I say sell out, in years past that number was 240, 250, and obviously that's not going to happen. So we felt that we're still going to get that influx, and because we're only allowing 50 people at a time to expand on the sessions during that period again from starting tomorrow, Christmas Eve, right on through to New Year's Day.
Perfect. I think it's a reflection of the times. Obviously, that's been a great outlet during the holiday break for families to go and experience some time together. And I'm glad we're able to preserve it a little bit, even though it's at a fraction of our normal capacity. But at this point, I think everyone understands, and we want to make sure that the people that do decide to do that will have a safe experience and can enjoy themselves and feel confident that they haven't been exposed to anything.
The other thing that's important that I almost forgot to announce, everything as far as you have to sign up in advance. This is something we instituted from the very start. There's no exchange of money. Everything is prepaid, either via PayPal or a credit card, and that all has to be done in advance. And you can literally sign up provided there are spots left 5 minutes before a session is ready to start. So from your smartphone, you could do it right from the parking lot, but still you need to sign up. And then if you don't have the ability to bring the acknowledgement form, the receipt form with you, you need to show it on your smartphone, on your smart device, whatever you've got. And that is something we are not deviating from. We're adhering to that very, very strictly. This way, it's completely contactless and no exchange of monies whatsoever.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
people can feel safe about it. 2 weeks ago, we started with our another measure to sanitize, to sterilize. We're using UV lighting now while the facility is either closed or while sections are not being used. Yesterday was a good example. The locker rooms were not used during the day. They were cleaned the night before, and the UV lighting ran for 60 minutes in each of the locker rooms. And so that's another step we have taken. We still do use the Genion unit because once the UV lighting is complete, if you do a 30-minute application, you need to stay out of the room for 30 minutes. If you need to do 60 minutes, which we are doing, we're doing the max, you need to stay out of the room for 60 minutes. So it's basically a 2-hour process. So people can feel very, very safe, feel very, very reassured. We are doing everything and more to ensure that the facility is cleaned, sterilized, and it's a safe environment.
So that lighting system, we just put it into the room, and it set a timer. It lights itself. The UV basically penetrates the whole room, and then it shuts itself off and we go take it out?
Yeah, they're portable units, and they all come with, well, we're out of time. We can just pick up on this because they
Okay.
do have a nice feature on it, but we're over the limit right now, and we'll be back in a few, listeners.
Okay.
Okay, and thank you, Freddie Costello and Greg Shorvis, for bringing us this first segment of Super Wednesday. Wednesday, December 23rd, and 30 degrees here in uptown Kingston. And some sun this morning with increasing clouds later this afternoon with a high of 37. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a 48% chance of showers after midnight. A low of 27 degrees. You're listening to KCR Kingston Community Radio on AM 920, 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. And you're with us here with Greg Shorvis, Fred Costello, and myself, Dan Gatis, and we'll be right back after these messages.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
To buy your home, you became a house hunting ace. Learned about loans, scoured neighborhoods, and asked the right questions. Now you're queen of your castle. If you manage that, you can get your retirement plan on track. Visiting aceyourretirement.org can help. With 401k tips and smart saving strategies, you'll feel empowered to own your retirement like you own your home. Go to aceyourretirement.org. Because when it comes to clearing financial hurdles, you're an ace. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, this is Dina Roy from Hurley, and I support the Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
Thanks for being with us at Kingston Community Radio, AM 920, 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. Wednesday, December 23rd, 30 degrees here in uptown Kingston. This upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, one near you. And let's get back to the on-air studio with Greg Shorvis and Freddie Costello, I believe. Welcome back.
Thank you, Dan Gatis, and welcome back, listeners who have been with us for the first half hour, and those just joining us. Welcome on what you could say a very nice Wednesday. It is December, but the temperature is hovering right around freezing. It could be much worse, as it was last Thursday, as we all know. 331-9255 is our call-in number. Fred Costello, Supervisor, Town of Saugerties, is with us virtually, and we'd love to hear from you. 331-9255 on the eve of Christmas Eve.
On the eve of Christmas Eve. Can't believe we're that far into the year, but it's certainly a fun holiday, and I'll be able to enjoy it more if I finish up my last-minute shopping.
Nine more days to go, and 2020 is history. And of course,
hard to believe. Yeah, time certainly seems to go more quickly. That's for sure.
Tell me about it. It certainly
we
does.
had quite a storm last week, and I've been catching up with all the highway, the other supervisors throughout the county, and it was a challenge for all the highway departments. A lot of breakdowns because there was such a big volume of snow, and a lot of challenges for the first storm. We really jumped right into the deep end, so to speak. Usually you get a 2 or 3 inch storm to kind of wet your whistle a little bit and get used to doing it. But this year we got that big storm, and it provided quite a challenge for everyone. And we did that in Saugerties too. We had a number of breakdowns and a number of problems during the storm, but everybody did a great job. They stayed with it, and the residents were all mostly very patient and grateful for the effort that everyone put forward. So it was successful.
Yeah, and you stop and think, last year the same thing happened. It was on December the 2nd, I believe it was, where we got a very early, for us, heavy snowfall. It was right around 14 inches. And then there wasn't
Well, I
much.
forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah. Well, we certainly didn't because we were right in the home stretch of the legacy of the building project.
Building project.
Yeah, and that was that, and actually that entire stretch when middle of November, right around the middle of November to the middle third week in December was probably our coldest stretch of the winter last year. And if
Was it
you
really?
Yeah.
I would be okay with that too because it was pretty cold last week. And
Saturday morning surprised me. I had one above on Saturday morning.
yeah, it was it was cold, and then we, when it's cold like that, anything that was about to breaks. And we had a couple of challenges with some mechanical systems, actually in my personal life, and we had a couple of challenges with mechanical systems at Town Hall.
Yes, we did. Yes, and that's of course when they always decide to go. And then just as with everything, and boy, this is really getting to be a challenge with just about everything, is getting parts. It just, especially for units that are older, suppliers seem to be either stocking less and less inventory, and nothing is uniform anymore. But the manufacturers do that on purpose because they want you to buy new.
Yeah, I think I think you're right about that because it seems like every time you buy something, it requires a modification. This is the replacement for the old model, but it doesn't exactly fit. You have to buy this conversion kit, which is kind of annoying.
Yes,
but I think it's designed obsolescence. What do you call it? Obsolescence. Designed obsolescence. Is that what they call it?
Obsolete?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Is obsolescence a word?
Dan?
Obsolescence is absolutely a word.
Is it? Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I remember the term planned obsolescence, of course, which having a Pinto in the 70s reminds me of.
Well, that's how you know that.
That's how it's burned into my memory.
It's warped right in there.
Yeah. So, oh yes, it's definitely it's a marketing directive.
We feel the impact of it. If you have something 5 years old and they need the part, oh my God, you're cross-referencing manuals for days. But, yeah.
And we got a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Kingston Community Radio.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas, a blessed one, and I hope it's a wonderful one for all of you.
Well, thank you. That's very sweet of you.
Yeah, and then also I'd like to talk to you about a snowstorm. I don't know if you remember when we had this. It goes back to 1988. It was on October the 4th, and we had a blizzard on that day.
In Sorgaties?
I had been down in Sparkle, New York, and I was coming up with one of the sisters because down there it was raining, and we were told it was snowing up here. And it was really snowing up here, let me tell you. We had a very heavy snowstorm. October 4th,
I do remember, and I think you're right, it was 88, but in Sorgaties itself, I don't recall where we got snow, but I know Palinville, just to the north, even West Sorgaties had snow, but Palinville had like a foot. Up on the mountaintop, they had close to 2 feet.
Wow, yeah. But I know we were told because I was down with one of the sisters, Dominican sisters, and we were coming up, and we were told to come up early because it was snowing up here. And, they had 2 houses here in Sorgaties, one on Spalding Lane and the other one in Glasgow. And we were coming up to the one in Glasgow,
Yep.
and we were told it was snowing up here.
Yeah, weather can certainly be bizarre. Look at this past year, how nice, temperature-wise, relative, to what normally you can expect. February was, and March, the end of March and the first few days in April, and then from that point there, the growing season was already going. And then, boom, it was like the brakes were put on and it was put into reverse. Because if you remember, the rest of April was below normal temperature-wise, and we got a touch of snow
Right.
Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah. Well, I remember in school there, we had snow days left over. And I believe they had extended it to our Memorial Day weekend because we didn't use up all our snow days in Saugerties.
You've got a very good
It's
memory.
always a nice bonus. It's so much better to have the day off on a warm spring afternoon than on a snowy January day when you have to shovel.
So we were fortunate, too, a few times when we did get snow. It would come on the weekend,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit of snow we got, so we didn't use up the snow days in school. So we, they extended it that time, for our spring break.
Mrs. R, you used to participate in retreats at the Dominican Sisters?
Okay, I didn't hear what you said.
You used to participate in retreats at the Dominican Sisters facility here in Glasgow?
Yeah, I used to go there. Yeah, so years ago. I was an associate member with Sparkle Dominican Sisters. I was for 3 years, and over the years I did, a lot of volunteer work for the community, and so I used to go and also on retreats with them. And then in the summertime, in Glasgow, no, it was on Spalding Lane.
Yep.
I used to go there for 2 weeks in the summertime and help there, and then it was really beautiful there because they have a nice big pool there that we were able to use, and and the grounds in both places. It's just a shame that it's been sold now.
Yeah.
The facility is closed because
pretty...
I used to have family reunions at the Villa St. Joseph's on Spalding Lane. I had 5 of them there.
Did you really?
Yes, We would go there on a Friday afternoon at 4 o'clock and stay until brunch on Sunday. And we used to have Father Guzman come and say Mass for us.
Yeah, that's really fun.
Yeah.
So that property, the area between the Spalding Lane house and the Glasgow house, is the Falling Waters Nature Preserve, and it is one of the most highly trafficked day parks in the scenic Hudson system. So that property is being enjoyed by more people now than it ever has been.
Yeah,
the unfortunate part is the facilities, the 2 buildings, are left underused, and there's been a lot of efforts by the Spark Hill Sisters to try to find a productive use for those buildings, and up until this point that we have not been able to do something that will be productive. But it's, on one part of me, I'm really happy that the property is being used because it is a really unique and special piece of land. But another part of me feels a little bit bad because you have these, they're old and they certainly need updating, but they're pretty impressive structures, and they're not being used very much at all.
No, I know. It's really a shame, that that had happened. That the sisters, no longer were able to keep, because they weren't getting. You don't have the women coming into community anymore, and that's, they've gone down in number, and then they don't have the people to take care of these places, So you wind up them, closing, So it's and it happens with a lot of different communities.
That group of sisters was really a dynamic organization, and they built, I think, a lower income housing and nursing facility in Westchester, and those properties are still up and running very successfully, and I think it's still managed indirectly by the sisters. And I had, over the years, the opportunity to meet a number of them, and they're just really dynamic and bright people and very articulate, and any opportunity that I've had to spend with them, I've really enjoyed.
Yeah. Yeah, they've done a lot of good work. You know, they do a lot too with the migrant workers, and they do a lot in the schools. You know, they're a wonderful group of women, and I really wish that it would turn around and they would get more women entering.
Yeah, it's kind of odd nowadays. People just don't gravitate to do that, you know.
No,
and
I know.
it's not just that part of it. There are no priests left. You know, Father Chris, the local priest here at St. Mary's, is responsible for 5 parishes. Obviously, Glasgow, St. John's, Woodstock, and I think Phoenicia as well. And you know, if you go back 15 years, there was a priest at each one of those parishes running in with a successful congregation, and in order to meet the times, they've spread themselves thin that way. And you know, and then also when I was a young man growing up in the Catholic Church, going to Mount St. Alphonsus was a really big deal, and the church had to give up that property, and that did find a good use. The Bruderhof has taken it over and made it one of their facilities. They run a school and housing there, and they've done a wonderful job preserving it. But it was, you know, looking back as a young man, and I know your boys went there for a number of things too. Really great memories growing up and being part of that.
One thing I wish that would be changed, like I don't know if you get the Catholic New York or not, but they'll tell, you know, they'll show in there when they have men come in, you know, becoming priests and stuff. I really feel that you should be told where they are going to be, what parishes they're going to be working at and stuff like that, because a lot of them don't want to come up this way. But you'll have the priests down there, but you don't have them up here. And I really feel, you know, if you're giving yourself to God and community, then you should go where you're told to go, you know, and not say, no, I want to stay here. You know, I know they want to stay in their family, but they're serving God and they're serving community, and they should make that sacrifice.
Yeah.
I did not realize Father Chris also served Phoenicia.
That I'm not sure about. I think there's another Father Tom, I think is what his name is. I think he's the one who's doing that. I don't think it's Father Chris.
Okay, I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah, because that would be really stretching thin, you know, considering.
Yeah, right, you know.
He's got the ones in Sorgetes, Woodstock.
Yeah.
And he has to hustle.
St. John's, you know, it's just too bad, you know, with Father Bill that he had left there. It really hurt a lot of people because when he wanted to become a chaplain, you know, in the nursing home. And, you know, people wrote letters down to the Archdiocese, you know, to try to get a priest up here, you know, but a lot of people really were hurt by him doing that. He was, you know, really a very good priest, you know, and he did a lot for the community there. And, you know, he's really missed very much, and a lot of people are really hurt by that.
And he went on to become, did you say chaplain?
A chaplain at Ferncliff Nursing Home.
Well, that may have been his ambition, and, you know, I've always said if that's bettering himself, if one is out to better themselves, you really can't stand in the way of that.
No, I know, you know.
I mean, I've seen it so many times with individuals who have worked for me or come to work for me while they're in college, or they may have taken regular full-time positions because they couldn't find something that they took their education for, but then inevitably they do find it, and obviously you're happy to see that you know, and you encourage them. You never want to stand in the way of one that's going to better themselves, better their family, and better their career. A very good example is our mayor, Bill Murphy. Real good example there.
Yeah, you do. You have to root for folks, and when they have an opportunity to do something that they want to or can give them a better opportunity to be successful in life, you have to support that. But, there's always a little selfish part when you have somebody who's a good employee or became a good friend. When they leave your organization, you feel bad and you miss them, for sure.
And it's also always good and very rewarding to know that you have played a small role in molding this individual or helping him along the maturing process, the education process, learning many things that you would do once you settle into and purchase a home where there's always maintenance and upkeep. And, you take in the case of the mayor, he goes on to become mayor, and his involvement in the community is tremendous. I mean, he's going on 30 years plus running youth basketball for the Sorgetes Athletic Association. So not only just holding the position of mayor, he has a new title now. I saw it in his email yesterday. I think finance professional consultant it's not directly IBM that he's working for anymore. He worked for years with IBM, but global, I want to say, maybe global enterprise, which I guess is a contractor for IBM. I'm not exactly sure. So it's always rewarding to see that. And I've seen that many, many times where individuals have gone on to be very, very successful, are in not only are in careers that they enjoy, they're able to provide a very good livelihood for their families, and then the many that have taken the next step and become active in the community, volunteered in the community. It's great. It's great to see.
It is. We actually, three of us share one of these stories. Stefan is Mrs. R's grandson.
Yes.
He used to work for us at Two's, and we loved having him. And I know he worked for us at the Parks Department, and he did well there, and now he's moved on, and he's doing great. And I think he's in Texas with installing fiber optic cable. Isn't that correct, Mrs. R? Oh, we lost her?
No, I'm here. Yeah.
Oh, Stefan, your grandson, he worked for the town and for us at the restaurant for our family. My mom loves him. And he's now, he's in Texas, I think, doing fiber optic installation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's doing great.
Yeah, that's great, too.
Yeah. But we all enjoyed having him as employees when he was with us. He's got that that dynamic personality and positive outlook. He's a character.
And even after he left, when he was working part-time for us, he may have still been working for you, he worked some of the special events. He worked many years the Garlic Festival, and when we're using the east side, and Mrs. R, you may not know this, but his position was always out on Washington Avenue when we were using the east lots of hits for parking for the Garlic Festival. And besides being a directional attendant for the vehicles, he also put on live entertainment.
Yes, I know, with his chicken dance.
With the chicken dance, yes.
Yes, I know, and he did that on 4th of July this year, too. Out there on...
So in the middle of Washington Avenue, he was entertaining and directing while doing the chicken dance.
Yes. No, he is a character. I love him very much. And stuff,
Yes, he is. That's a good way to put it. He is a character.
Yeah. But he's back from Texas. He had to go back to Texas for a while again, but now he's back, and he's been working in Connecticut. So he's been, traveling back and forth from Connecticut, but he was down in Texas for a while again, but then he came back, so... it's good. I did see him for Thanksgiving.
Oh, that was nice. That was nice.
So he was, so he, came back about a week before Thanksgiving, from Texas.
Well, it's always great to hear from you, and wishing you and everyone in the facility that you reside in a very, very Merry Christmas, and what hopefully will be a much happier, healthy, and safe New Year in 2021.
Yeah, yes, for everyone, and I hope that vaccine really works and people do get it,
Yes.
a lot of people are hesitant, which I can understand that, but I believe it will help us, and hopefully that this virus will be rid of it out of the whole world, not just out of the United States, that everyone will keep well and safe, and things will go forward again.
That's what we're all hoping and praying for.
Yes, right. So you take care, and it's good talking to all of you, and I hope everybody got their pledges in for the Christmas fund, so people will benefit from it.
Yeah, that's a very, very good point. For those who did make pledges and have not mailed their check in yet, please do to Kingston Community Radio or the Happy Christmas Fund.
Right.
P.O. Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402.
Right. Okay, so it was good talk to all of you, and again, a very Merry Christmas and Happy and Healthy New Year to
Thank
all
you.
of you, and keep up all the
Thank
good work
you.
that
Same
you
to you.
do.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thanks, same to you. Bye.
So I did reach out just before 7:30, but they must all be busy. The mayor, who's usually here on the fourth Wednesday, he had an 8 o'clock urgent meeting, and I reached out to Shannon Harris. We haven't heard from Shannon, but I didn't get any response, and she must be busy, as is Supervisor McKenna. But we're holding down the fort real well here.
Well, we had good callers, and that helps.
Yes.
I also reached out a little bit to Senator Hinchy. You can say that now; it's official.
Yep.
If I gave her more notice, I think we could have had her on this morning. But we're going to try to line her up for next week.
Yes.
'Cause we have a fifth Wednesday anyway, right?
We have a fifth Wednesday. I reached out to Senator Delgado's office again yesterday. We've been trying to get him on the air for quite some time, and a couple times I almost thought we had him, and then a last-minute email from his staff that he had a last-minute commitment come up. So maybe things are a little bit slower right now, and he's able to call in next Wednesday.
I hope we get him on. He'll be a great guest, and for folks who haven't had the chance to meet him, he's just really nice demeanor, comfortable personality, and very sincere. Had an occasion recently to spend a little time with him, and he wanted to meet with some business owners and talk about the challenges that they were facing. And I really enjoyed a couple hours we were able to spend together, and I think he really benefited from meeting with many of those business owners and getting a perspective about the challenges that COVID has made for them to stay in business and keep their employees. So I hope we get him on soon. We could have the staff on too, Greg. Amanda, she's wonderful, and Liz Bono, we all know she's really great too, and they would all be good guests talking about some of.
Yeah, you know what? That's a good point, and I ought to throw that back out. I'm sure I'm going to get a response. They are very, very good. This was late afternoon, early evening when I shot the email out, and I'm sure I'm going to get a response. They're very, very good with responding within 24 hours.
Yeah, we'll get something. So, it'd be great if we could get someone on next week. And and everybody's so busy right now. We barely can find time to do our normal work because every 3 days there's a new something we have to kind of find a way to deal with.
Fred.
Yeah.
Stop and think about something. Haven't we said that constantly throughout this past year?
Yes, but that's as we're closing the year, there's interest in people reflecting back. So I was speaking with a reporter yesterday, and he's like, "What was good and what was bad?" And I said, "COVID," and he's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "COVID was the bad, obviously, but it was also the good." I think we learned so much about our community and found out that the wood that we are made of is much thicker and stronger than we thought. And we've been challenged in many ways, but we've been able to meet a lot of that challenge and help our neighbors, and that's really what it's all about.
Yeah, very good point. All right, we're over the top of the hour. I'm getting the signal again from Dan, and we'll be back in a few with State Assemblyman Kevin Cahill and Fred Costello.
Right.
Okay, and thank you, Fred Costello and Greg Shorvis. And you're listening to KCR, Kingston Community Radio, on AM 920 and 92.5 FM. My name is Dan Gatis, and it is 8 o'clock a.m. It's Wednesday, December 23rd, and 30 degrees here in uptown Kingston. And a little bit of weather and forecast for Kingston and the surrounding area. Today, some sun this morning with increasing clouds this afternoon, a high of 37. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a 48% chance of showers after midnight, a low of 27. Thursday, 95% chance of rain showers in the morning with a steady rain in the afternoon, a high of 54. Thursday night, 99% chance of rain, potential of flooding with a 1 to 2 inches expected at least, low of 52 degrees, and it's quite warm. If it were colder, I'd say this was probably going to be another good snowfall. Friday, 97% chance of rain early, remaining cloudy later in the day. Morning high of 58 with temperatures falling down to near 40 during the day on Friday. Friday night, partly to mostly cloudy, low all the way down to 21. And we'll be right back after these messages.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
Do you love the festive decorations and colorful lights of the holiday season? Visit Central Hudson's Instagram page, Central_Hudson, to vote for your favorite photo capturing the best decorated home in the Hudson Valley. Be sure to follow our Instagram page so that you may choose your favorite photo. Hurry, voting ends at noon on Wednesday, December 30th.
Hi, this is Dina Roy from Hurley, and I support the Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
And you're listening to KCR, Kingston Community Radio, AM 920 and 92.5 FM, 30 degrees on this Wednesday, December 23rd. And you might be streaming online at mykcr.org. For that, thank you. Thank you for listening today. And this last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Many locations throughout the Mid-Hudson Valley, locations near you. And this upcoming portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Central Hudson. Central Hudson, thank you. And let's get back to the on-air studio with Greg Shorvis and Fred Costello. Welcome back.
Thank you, Dan Gatis, and welcome back, listeners who have been with us, and those just joining us. 331-9255 is our call-in number. We would love to hear from you. We are expecting State Assemblyman Kevin Cahill. I believe I didn't get any notification, and Lawrence didn't mention anything that he was not coming. He may be running a little bit late this morning. On virtually, Supervisor from the town of Sorgetes, Fred Costello.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning, listeners. Could you hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I got a text message, and I just looked at it quick to see, double check that it was Kevin. It was not. So possibly he's just running a little bit late. And Dan, we have a new weather provider or enhancement to it, because now we're down to where it's 48% chance, 97% chance. So
yeah, it all depends on the day. Tonight overnight there's a 40.
No, but I'm saying, usually it's 40% or 50%.
Oh no,
now we're 47.
In the winter they get very specific.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they get very specific because of the little squalls and things like that.
Gotcha.
That
and I do want to correct something you did say. you had mentioned if the temperatures were colder, this would be another good snowstorm.
It sure seems to be. It seems that it would have been a very heavy-duty, healthy snowstorm if it were colder.
Well, guess what?
What?
I don't think any snow is a good snow.
Oh, okay.
Unless when it's except on the mountaintop. Okay. Again,
Yeah.
you probably heard me say my vision of a winter is let it snow on the mountaintop, let it rain in the valleys, so that people traveling to the ski slopes, to the mountaintops, are able to do so. Because if you get 2 feet of snow in the valleys, it's going to be difficult to travel up to the mountaintop. But yet, let it snow up there, and a lot of businesses, especially smaller mom and pop businesses, rely on the ski industry. So not just the ski resorts themselves, such as Hunter, Bel Air, etc. So that would be if I had control of the weather. That's how I would control it, and everybody would be happy.
We would appreciate that.
And of course,
That would be great.
What's that?
That would be great. We would appreciate that. Perfect
Thanks.
weather, rain at night, sunny during the day, stuff like that.
But unfortunately, I am unable to control the weather. And by the way, if anybody figures out how to do it, please let me know. I'd like to be the second to know. And State Assemblyman Kevin Cahill just strolled in
Right with you.
with our nourishing breakfast, as he always does. It's always very, very nice of the Assemblyman to do that. And
We always have quite a clatch on Wednesdays, our breakfasts, and now he has some wonderful Christmas delicacies today, and always the coffee. So we always have a nice little clatch on Wednesdays.
yes, well, you get coffee every Wednesday.
Absolutely. It tastes better today.
Oh, yes, of course it did. Wednesday is, so normally at this time, it's birthday time, but guess what? We have no birthdays.
We were wondering
have
about that.
no
yeah.
birthdays.
Okay.
And it's Casual Wednesday, I see for you, Assemblyman. Yeah, I see. Very good. Not in your suit and tie.
That was earlier this week.
That was earlier this week. Yeah. Good. So we're getting close to the holiday, and it's time to become casual and throttle back a little bit.
Yeah. How are you? Good to see you. Hello, Fred on the radio.
Oh, Mr. Cahill, how are you?
Pretty good, buddy. You sound great. How you feeling?
I feel great. It's I appreciate it. I had a lot of outreach while I was getting better, and it really lifted my spirits. So I take a quick opportunity to thank everyone. But I feel great. I don't think I'm going to have any lasting side effects. I'm back to my normal schedule, and all is well. Thank God.
Good. Happy to hear it, and good luck to you and your family, and for staying healthy over the holidays too.
Yeah. It's we're trying to plan a Christmas Eve event. My mom always likes to do it, but it's just impossible. And I don't know. I think we're gonna have to set up a Zoom call and have just share food. I don't know how we're gonna do it.
It's a strange. I mean, this is the time of year where my siblings and I get together at my mom's house, and we're not doing that this year either. It is just the most bizarre thing in the world. It's very strange.
We've got a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Kingston Community Radio.
Good morning, gentlemen. Merry Christmas to all, and to all a great day.
Well, thank you, George. That's nice of you, and same to you.
You're welcome, and you're right. There is no such thing as a good snowstorm. Not when you got to get out there, shovel it, and move it. It's not a good snowstorm.
I agree. It's just a lot of extra work.
Right, exactly. But, Kevin, my question for you today is why in New York State and also down in Washington, why do they have to pile so much in bills that they create and stuff, and then give it to our elected officials at the last minute where they don't have time to read it, but yet expect him to vote on it right away?
That's a great question, George, and it's one that I think a lot of people are not clear about what happens. And I can't speak for Washington because I have very little experience there, mostly just through friends. And my understanding is that indeed they do not necessarily have the larger bill before them for most of the time. But in the state legislature, which I can speak of with some level of authority, oftentimes when we get that final bill on the day that it is going to be voted on, they say we get it, 24 hours before or whatever. We have seen iterations of it leading up to that point. The debate has taken place both formally and informally in committee and in conference and on the floor and elsewhere before we get to that on many, many of the points. And I'm speaking particularly of the budget, but it also happens with other things as well. So it's been largely vetted. What we don't get to see, and this is the tricky part, we don't get to see the actual nuanced final language. We rely upon our staffs to represent to us that the final language is what we said it would be or that what we agreed to. But quite frankly, there have been times where that has not been true, not because of anybody's malfeasance, but just because a comma was put in the wrong place or something like that. But by and large, the substance of what is in those big, giant, in this case, I guess it was 5,300 pages, the stimulus bill.
And
Wow.
When you hear both sides of the aisle complaining about it, there was a lot of stuff that was in there that our elected officials did not get a chance to read or learn about and then they was told that you have to vote on it in 2 to 5 hours.
Well, here's another downside to the way that the process is done, and I'll also take the point that you're making here. In this stimulus package, this particular stimulus package, I can name two very, very relatively minor points that were included in the bill. One eventually got kicked out, but two of them were being considered. One was to end surprise billing on a national level. Well, we've done that mostly in New York State. We have one area left to do, and I'm going to suspect that the federal bill doesn't fix that anyway. But surprise medical billing is when you go to the doctor and all of a sudden you show up at home and you get a bill. It happened to me just this fall. We've outlawed it in New York State, and now the federal government has outlawed it altogether as part of the stimulus package. But we didn't know it was in there, and had we been aware of the fact that it was going to be in there, we, being the National Council of Insurance Legislators, would have registered in, and we didn't have the opportunity to help fashion that into a better bill. The second piece was something called, I won't get deep into the weeds here, but the McCarran-Ferguson Act, which goes back several decades, maybe close to 80 years, authorizes the states to take the dominant role in regulating insurance. So it says the states will regulate insurance. That's pretty much what it says. It's also in some other parts of the Constitution, but this is the law that has made it clear that we can set up apparatus to regulate health insurance, to give you your appeal rights when you don't like what your health insurance company says, to go after them when they overbill you, when they steal the money for your prescriptions, all that stuff. That comes from the authority of the McCarran-Ferguson Act. Well, we found out over the weekend, Saturday afternoon, that there was a move to repeal the McCarran-Ferguson Act in the in the stimulus bill. And we literally, and I say we, I'm talking about my colleagues from 30 other states and I, were frantically on the phone all weekend and texting one another, and all through as late as last night, just making sure that what was dead was really dead, got taken out of the budget. So those are two things that were sneaked in at the last minute, and that's what can happen with a giant bill that hasn't had a chance to be read and hasn't also had a chance to have the input from the public. That's the more important piece.
Right, yeah, and because I'm hearing about the different things that was in that bill and everything else, and I'm starting to believe with our people down in Washington especially, they have lost sight of what the value of a dollar is, because they don't know how hard the normal, everyday working taxpayer have to work to get that dollar, and it's like the amounts that are just being blown out of Washington anymore is ridiculous. If you look at the funding for the different museums and everything down there, and like the money that we give to all these different countries and everything else, and then they turn around and offer the hard-working taxpayer $600. That, to me, that the math just does not add up.
Right.
And yeah, that's where they have to start thinking more and more about the taxpayer who have to pay these tax bills every year.
Well, I think stimulus bills in dire circumstances are good ideas. They have proven to be successful in the past. It's not a freebie, but it is close to a zero-sum game. If you get the economy moving, if you keep the economy moving, you continue to generate tax revenue. If the economy comes to a halt, you stop generating tax revenue. And once that happens, then the wheels come off. So these things tend to ultimately pretty close to pay for themselves. The one that doesn't actually, ironically, is the $600 to the individual. That stimulates the economy, but there's no evidence that it returns itself to the federal treasury the way, say, the big bailout of General Motors did. The United States government got every penny of that back with interest. And the bailout of the banks, most of the banks gave back all that money and more. That was the bailout in 2008. In this instance, it's going to be a little different. We're spending a lot more than we ever have before.
Right.
There's a like you said, there's a lot of things tucked in there that nobody really is completely aware of yet. So we have a long way to go. I think it's interesting to note that we in the state legislature and the governor's office have been waiting for the federal government to step up to backfill the loss of revenue that we've had because of the pandemic, and to help us with some of the additional expenses. And we were hoping to get, 10 or 15 or 20 billion dollars to help us out at the state level, and a similar amount for our localities, our counties, our cities, our towns, our villages around the state. And that didn't occur. None of that was in the bill. Even though that kind of money was not in the bill, there's still roughly $15 billion for New Yorkers in there. That's a lot of money. That's going to really help the state's economy. It won't help the bottom line with taxes. It won't help us keep the lights on in our public buildings and make sure we don't have to lay people off right away. But it will help our state's economy. It's critical money. So,
have you gotten any indication? Well, two things here now. Have you gotten any indication that possibly, there already Biden's been talking about a second stimulus package that the states and municipalities, there may be some funding in that?
This will be like the third or fourth, but yes, there is. That's a given.
Yeah, I mean one after this one. You're right. You're correct.
It's a given that's going to have to happen, because quite honestly, if the state government does not get the money that we need, and if our localities don't get the money that they need, the devastation in terms of services will just be overwhelming. So
I kind of knew your answer, and Fred and I had the conversation in the first half hour, and I basically said the same thing. I believe in 2021, it may not be the first quarter, it may be later on in 2021, we will see something. Will we get 100% of what we spent for what we did COVID related? No, but anything is certainly going to help.
Let's take a look at the political calculus here. This money that's going directly to people, we call up our senators and our congresspeople. We say, "Oh, thank you." Goes into our pocket, right? The money that goes to support the other entities, we call up our congressmen and our senators. We say, "Oh, thank you." We give money to state and local governments, and they spend it. And then people come to the state and local governments and they say thank you. So I think what the political calculus was here, that there is no political gain from giving state and local governments money at this time. And with a Biden presidency and perhaps even a Democratic Congress, it's possible we could be one seat into a Democratic Congress, depending upon what happens in Georgia. Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy and the other people who run the Republican Party may decide that it's in their best interest to hold off on that, to bargain for the best price under the next stimulus where the governments are getting it, so they can get more for their states.
Sure. Well, there's always that P word involved with it.
Nothing dirty about politics. I know, people don't like it, but it is what makes our system work, and it's not a bad thing.
And one other thing, Supervisor Costello mentioned, which I did not hear, and I didn't get all the news this morning, but as he was getting ready to come on the show, that the president has said he is not going to sign the stimulus bill?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's still a headline. He's indicating that he doesn't like it and he's not likely to sign it, and he's basically kicking it back to the Senate and the Congress and telling them that it's not large enough and to get some of the stuff that's more controversial out.
Yeah, I don't know, but that's not uncommon for presidents to do that sort of thing, and it usually means that they're in the midst of a negotiation. But I believe there is a process at the federal level where they can have their cake and eat it too, where the president will sign with a signing statement, and that's not a veto, but it says I'm signing this on the condition that. And that would force Congress to go back, because I think one thing he doesn't want to do, and I know his Treasury Secretary does not want to do, is slow this down. We are on the cusp of people losing unemployment insurance, and that extended unemployment benefit is critical during these cold season times. And everybody has said we need to get this money into circulation right away. So I think even though the president is making noises along those lines, some means of making sure the money gets out there today will occur, and maybe he'll still get his way.
Well, that's good to hear.
Well, thank you, Kevin. Thank you, gentlemen. You all have a very Merry Christmas. And Kevin, as somebody who don't always agree with you, I appreciate you being on the radio twice a month to where people are able to talk to you and answer your questions. And like I said before, I do really appreciate the way that when election time comes to where you go on the issues, and that is rarely this day and age, and I thank you for that. And your staff is always there whenever I call them with questions or comments. So thank you very much, and you guys have a wonderful day and a very Merry Christmas and a safe and healthy and happy New Year, and let's get this pandemic out of here.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, George, and you do likewise, you and yours, and we do appreciate you calling. Sometimes it's each week, and as I'll reiterate what you said back, Merry Christmas, and hopefully 2021 will be a much happier, healthy, and safe New Year.
I said to my friend the other day that I said, you know what I liked about 1996? She said, what was that? I said, I don't remember what happened that year.
That's great.
I can understand that one. We're getting up at that age where we start to forget a little bit. But have a great day, everybody, and everybody stay safe and stay healthy.
You too. Thank you.
So my Cracker Jack staff has a bunch of information for me to share. We'll get to some of it before the bottom of the hour, but there's some we'll have to get to during the next.
Okay, one thing, because I just got it here. Yeah. This is one of the craziest. Everybody gets these crazy text messages. So this text message came through from some strange unknown number with a 714 area code. Today is the final day you can get a concealed carry gun certificate permit downloaded here in under 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's spam. That's junk mail.
It has to be spam.
It's junk mail. Yeah. I get similar things, and oftentimes the text messages interrupt my phone calls to extend my car warranty. So
yes, yeah. Oh, I don't know how many of them I get. And then recently, the number of calls that come across as spam or spam risk. Who on earth in their right mind would answer a call when it comes across like that?
We had a problem with that during the unemployment crisis, the first one this spring, in that people's phones were identifying numbers as unknown or blocked or potential spam, when it turns out it was the Department of Labor folks working from home to try to fix our unemployment situation.
Oh, yes. I've heard two individuals experienced that, including one that had worked part-time for me. Yeah, that's now that you mention it. Wow.
So, a couple of quick things. Mike Darcy in my office has been very good about keeping track of the COVID numbers, and I took issue with him this week because the Dutchess numbers and the Ulster numbers just look strange to me, but he verified them. And as of yesterday, there were 2,093 active cases in Ulster County, and that's an increase of 723 since December 9th. But this morning, we've dropped a little bit down to 2,052 active cases. Meanwhile, in Dutchess County, which is a third bigger than Ulster County, they are doing a little bit better than we are. They have 1,511 active cases yesterday. That's a 475 increase since early December. But today it jumped precipitously to 1,652. And I'm going to ask him to please stop sending me texts while I'm on the air. I know once is great, but 3 times is a little bit of an interruption. So we have some big numbers in Ulster and Dutchess County right now. We're not one of the hot spots. If you look at a national map, we're re-experiencing a lot more than we did even in the springtime, but we're not nearly as bad off as some parts of the country. This has been a devastating disease. But, as my friend said to me this morning, there's light at the end of the tunnel. We see the light at the end of the tunnel. It comes in the form of a needle with a vaccine in it, but there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I think we're going to see some hope. And to those families that are dealing with this illness, including yours, Fred, through this holiday season, my heart goes out to you, and I hope that you can find something good to remember about this season instead of all the dread that we've had to deal with, particularly those who have lost loved ones as a result.
I find plenty to be grateful for. Our experience with the virus was, it was eye-opening and a little bit scary, but we've both done very well, and we're both on. I'm recovered at this point, and I'm grateful for that. And I didn't get my parents sick, which I'm very grateful for, and I didn't get other people that I was close to sick, and I'm grateful for that as well. So it's certainly something not to be taken lightly, and there are things we can do to protect ourselves, and it's in all of our interests to protect ourselves right now. It's there's reasons to be optimistic that 5-6 months from now this will become a bad memory, but the road between here and there is very bumpy and scary. So we have a lot of hard work to do for the next 3 to 4 months to make sure we minimize the negative impacts of what this looks like.
Well, we do have a lot of work ahead of us, and we're seeing an uptick in some of the institutional settings right now, which kind of once again reminds us that each one of us has the potential to cause a great deal of havoc once this disease gets moving. I think there's 5 correction officers and a dozen inmates at Ulster County Jail who are now positively diagnosed, and similarly we have situations in nursing homes. I read about one nursing home where there were double-digit deaths in one nursing home. When we wear that mask. And I've forgotten here and there too. I was in a restaurant the other day, and a guy came up, ran through the restaurant from the back of the restaurant, and he got right next to my table, and he says, "Oh," and he said a word that starts with S that makes Lawrence have to pay a fine. And he turned around and went back, and he came back and he said, I'm so sorry. I said, "Oh, that happens to me all the time." Don't worry.
We got a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Kingston Community Radio.
Good morning. I just wanted to remind you people what Rich Matthews would be saying at this particular time of the year. And I don't know if you remember it or not, but he always said, Jesus is the reason for the season. And my retort was, wise men still seek him.
There you go.
And so I would trust that you people that are in a position of authority would be wise men and seek Jesus as your guide. Thank you.
Well, I think this is the season that people of all faiths look to their spiritual guidance, and it's not a bad time to reflect back on that. Speaking of Rich Matthews, he and I and a few other friends, we go out to dinner periodically, and we have done so since now for 30 years. And we couldn't do it, of course, right now. But the other day, one of our colleagues, one of our other dinner companions, arranged for a Zoom dinner.
Nice.
And well, there's a punchline here. So the 5 of us who usually get together, 4 of us got together, and Rich couldn't figure out the Zoom. Also, I think I gave him the wrong day.
Did you do that on purpose?
No, I absolutely did not. We were looking forward to watching Richie deal with technology.
I could just see him. I could just picture it.
So a couple of traditions are still alive around here. I guess the Living Nativity is still taking place here at the Old Dutch Church, but not exactly in the same format as always. I saw something with the Bruderhof where they're doing something to connote the birth of the Christ child, and there are so many other things going on. There's a contest, a couple of different contests, one by Central Hudson. I guess they're looking for business of who's got the best lights.
Yeah, $500 thing. They want you to do it up and jack so the electric bill goes up.
In remembrance of Rich Matthews, let's say, Jesus is the reason for the season.
There you go.
And wise men still seek him.
There you go. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. We're out of time. We're at the bottom of the hour. You have yourself a very Merry Christmas. And again, thank you for your call. Have a great day. We'll be back in a few, listeners.
Okay, and thank you, Greg Shorvis, Kevin Cahill, Fred Costello, and thank you, callers, for calling in today. It's now at the bottom of the hour, and you're with us on Kingston Community Radio, KCR at AM 920 and 92.5 FM WGHQ. Wednesday, December 23rd, 28 degrees right now here in Uptown Kingston. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Central Hudson. Today, some sun this morning with increasing clouds in the afternoon with a high of 37. Not a bad day. Tonight, mostly cloudy with a 48% chance of showers after midnight, a low down to 27. Thursday, 95% chance of rain showers in the morning with a steady rain in the afternoon, a high of 54. And Thursday night, 99% chance of rain, potential of flooding with 1 to 2 inches at least expected, and a low of 52 degrees. Friday, 90% chance of rain again early, remaining cloudy, and a morning high of 58 with temperatures falling during the day to near 40 later on in the afternoon. Friday night, partly to mostly cloudy, low back down to 21. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
We are Lions. We bring hope where it's needed. We are a global force for good. Support causes that matter. Change lives. Change communities. Change the world. We can do more together than we can alone. Join in. Experience the joy of serving. Be part of the movement. Give back. Let's unite the world for good. We are Lions. You can be too. Visit weserve.org.
Do you love the festive decorations and colorful lights of the holiday season? Visit Central Hudson's Instagram page, central_Hudson, to vote for your favorite photo capturing the best decorated home in the Hudson Valley. Be sure to follow our Instagram page so that you may choose your favorite photo. Hurry, voting ends at noon on Wednesday, December 30th.
Hi, this is Dina Roy from Hurley, and I support the Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
Today's Wednesday, December 23rd, and 28 degrees here in Uptown Kingston right now. You're with us on KCR, Kingston Community Radio, WGHQ 920 on your AM dial and 92.5 FM, and streaming online at mykcr.org. Your call, 331-9255, is always awaited. And it's always invited, always awaited. 331-9255 is your phone number to reach our hosts and guests. This last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Central Hudson. This upcoming segment of KCR is brought to you by Herzog's. Stop by Herzog's Home and Paint Center in the Kingston Plaza for all of your home building and maintenance and painting and Christmas decorating needs. When you get your Christmas tree from Herzog's Christmas Tree Lot, you provide funds to the Girls and Boys Club of Ulster County as well. And That's the difference of buying local. Sales ongoing at herzhogs.com. Let's get back to the on-air studio with Greg and Kevin. Welcome back.
Thank you, Dan Gatis, and welcome back, listeners. Those just joining us, 331-9255 is our call-in number. Fred Costello, Supervisor, Town of Saugerties, is on virtually, and right here in the studio, a little more than 6 feet away from me, is State Assemblyman Kevin Cahill. And before you get to your homework there, as you call it, you had mentioned the Zoom meeting. I just want to, because I did not do this last week, really commend the Saugerties Chamber. They did a Zoom. Normally, their meeting in December is the holiday party that Bob Circasano funds. So this year here, you picked up your appetizers at Main Street Restaurant, and it was complimentary. So Bob continued to do his generosity. And it was quite a size. When you got done with those, you did not want to eat. And as you mentioned, when you do it via Zoom, like you had mentioned when we were off the air, I had
cocktails come at you.
I had a couple extra drinks, and we had a Zoom, and there was a bunch of people on. It was awesome.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to throw that in. So
yeah, I think that's a terrific way to do it. We did not have food at our little gathering. We just had the beverages, and that was fine. We had the beverages and the jokes, and that's kind of like half of our dinner anyway. We're looking forward to doing it again soon with Rich Matthews this time. We're really hoping we can get him to join us.
So it was a liquid Zoom, and I'm sorry, got to interrupt you again, but we have a caller. Good morning, caller. You're on the air with Kingston Community Radio.
Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Brian Waltman calling in. First of all, Merry
Morning,
Christmas
Brian.
and Happy New Year to you both. Hope you're doing well and everybody's remaining healthy.
Well, thank you, and likewise for you.
My question, thank you very much. My question is for the Assemblyman. It has to do with the recent news reporting regarding the Wirt Street Bridge here in Kingston, which connects Kingston and Port Ewan. Apparently, the DOT received bids that were higher than they had estimated, and they're looking maybe to go rebid this, recalibrate the bid. And I'm hoping this, as this is probably one of the very few areas where the Assembly and I are in complete agreement that as far as the interest of that bridge. I'm hoping the Assemblyman will strongly advocate that the specification not be diminished at all, the plan specification, and that somehow the funding, adequate funding for the restoration of this bridge can be found.
Okay. Thank you.
Any comments on that, Kevin? Or?
Yeah, well, I mean, our office has been advocating for the bridge. We got the money to begin with. We're hoping that we can keep it in the budget and keep on the path toward having it repaired. The bids came in too high, but they came in before excuse me, I'll be done in a sec. But they came in before the pandemic was known. So it has been our suggestion to the Department of Transportation that they simply go back out with the same bid and see if the numbers come in lower, which I think they will because the construction industry has slowed down somewhat. It is our goal to see that bridge be returned to its former glory and be a full transportation bridge, that is cars, trucks, and people, and to do it as soon as possible. But we're continuing to monitor it at the Department of Transportation level. The rebidding process is very difficult. There may have to be some modification to the scope, but when all is said and done, it will be not just as good a bridge as it was when it started. It will be a better bridge.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And by the way, I'm acutely and very familiar with the bidding process and how that works. But I don't know if you saw the recent HBO series, The Undoing. That bridge was featured at the climax of that series, and not necessarily in a favorable light either. I don't know. Did either one of you see that series?
No,
I did not. No.
Yeah, it was actually very good. But yeah, the climax of that series occurred right on that bridge, of all places in the world, and the reference to it wasn't necessarily favorable. By the way, it was mentioned by name. In the, I won't give away too much of the plot in case you do see it, but it was referred to as the Wirt Street Bridge in the series. So I found that was interesting. Anyway, I'll leave you with this: Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, and all the best to you, both of you, in 2021.
Well, likewise to you, Brian, and thank you for your call. You have an awesome day.
All right, bye now.
So my staff has been working very hard over the past several weeks to update our COVID questionnaires. We do a frequently asked question document that that we post on the internet and we make available to people, and we also have it on our desks so that people can, when they call our office, we have ready answers. And we just finished updating them, but lo and behold, the staff is going to have to go and re-update them to reflect the new stimulus package. And that'll be an effort that will probably take several days. But I would urge people to reach out to us at our website, the Assembly website, and you can put in my name, and you'll probably wind up right on the front page if you do it in Google. NewYorkAssembly.gov, G-O-V, not .com. And then just find my name, and you'll get to my page, and there will be specific links to the various COVID frequently asked question documents. We have one that's dedicated specifically to the stimulus, and that's going to be not necessarily accurate information, but everything else is going to be pretty good. There's going to be information about unemployment. There's going to be information about how you access health insurance. There's going to be information about the emergency food distribution networks that are available, particularly in these times. If you know somebody who's in need, make sure that they don't go hungry over these holidays, or any time for that matter. So we have a lot of questions there: the stimulus, health insurance, unemployment, and various insurance products. And also, this is critically important because so much of the stimulus has cut this whole population out. The new immigrant population, which is not necessarily qualified to receive anything under the stimulus, still there are resources in our community to serve them, and we have information about how to achieve it. And if I'm not mistaken, that particular one is also in 2 languages. So I wanted to get that out there because staff's been working hard on that. We are a little behind schedule on wrapping up our summer reading program, but that's because we had some multiple complications this year. We didn't meet, but we still met on Zoom, and we had several participants this year, lighter than usual, and we have been struggling to get a reasonable picture out to them and a note to remind them that we're very grateful that our young kids participated in the summer reading program. So that should be on its way to people in the next couple of days. We're wrapping up the logistics of getting their name on the picture right now so that they have something really good to put on the fridge.
And how many that you're aware of?
Oh, well, this year at the actual virtual ceremony, it was about 30. But over the course of the time that we've been doing it, it's in excess of 2,500. So
cumulative over the years.
Cumulative, yeah. And this year we probably...
That's fantastic.
We probably started out with fewer kids because the distribution system was a little more challenging than it was in the years past. In years past, our staff would get in their cars and drive to the schools and drop off the flyers, and they would have physical flyers. This year, a lot of it was download. A lot of it was thank you. We were so grateful to our libraries for helping us out. And a very limited number of school districts were able to, and our office also had trouble with the logistics. Were able to get the message out. So we had a little bit lighter attendance this year, but they still got a great goodie bag, which staff did hand deliver right after the service. We went to their homes or some other common distribution point, and the kids got a goodie bag filled with rewards from the community, gift certificates, toys, trinkets, tchotchkes of all kinds, and a juice box with apple juice in it and a donut.
Very nice.
So that's all done. Like I said, we're going to have some additional information on the stimulus package, and there should be some important stuff in there. In other news, we're wrapping up. We're doing our year end in the office. We're figuring out what it is that we can do better next year to better serve folks, and we're bracing ourselves for a wave of unemployment that will come after the Christmas season on top of everything else. We already have pretty close to 6% unemployment in our community, and that's pretty high for a community that is such a high number of retired people. When you take them out of the equation and you start thinking about how many adults are not working that want to work, the number is significant. We're hoping that we can bring all the resources necessary to help people bridge this difficult time and then get back to a point where we are once again prosperous and dealing with the good news and not just the bad news. But that's what we're doing here. In Albany, we had a special session this week on Monday. I went to Albany, and I didn't go into the chamber, but I sat at my desk in my Albany office and I was part of a meeting where we did a rule change so that on the first day of session of 2021, we can meet remotely. There's no reason for us to get together. We have the ability to do it electronically. It's proving to be productive. So we met, and virtually unanimously, there were 5 or 6 no votes, I will say that. But the Democrats and the Republicans got together and they said, listen, this is important for our health and for the safety of our staff and our colleagues, particularly the elderly colleagues. And I don't consider myself one of those, but even though I got the white hair and everything, and I qualify for Medicare. But we have we have a lot of people that are part of the support network in the assembly, and we try to keep the numbers limited. So even though I was in Albany, we were asked to still vote from our desks. Hold on, I'm so sorry about that. I just turned the ringer off twice, and it still keeps turning itself back on. So
Has a mind of its own.
It does have a mind of its own today. It really does. So hopefully in January we will be dealing with a stimulus that will repair the damage to our state and local budgets and get us back on a footing so that we can start to talk about good things instead of the dire things that we've been dealing with.
Now you say January. You're optimistic with January?
I'm optimistic that we'll see a stimulus package in January that will help the state and local governments.
Presented.
No, at the federal level, I think we'll have it. I think the president will hit the ground running with that. President Biden, yeah.
Well, that's some good news. Okay.
So I think it's probably in formation right now and might be one of the first acts of Congress. I don't know what else he has in mind for his first act, but that would be a really good idea to do. And besides that, I think we're going to start to see the rollout of the vaccine. We already have 170,000 doses this week and 346,000 doses next week. So all told,
in New York State.
In New York State, that's 500,000 doses that are more than 500,000 doses that are going to be available to New Yorkers.
Now, two days ago, I didn't see one last evening. The newsletter that comes out of the governor's office, Cuomo forwards out. We are the #1 top state that has administered vaccines out of all the states in the United States.
It's interesting. You know, I've received many, many letters in my office from people who were concerned that the governor had been skeptical about the virus and said, oh, it's not going to happen in New York State until our health authorities vet it. But they did vet it, and that's not uncommon. In California and New York frequently do the same thing at the same time as the federal government so that there's sort of a check on each other. So there's a certain level of validity. So the virus that's being administered in New York State, and not
vaccine, not the virus.
Vaccine, well, it is a virus, but it's a vaccine. Yeah. The vaccine that's being administered in New York State not only has the Dr. Fauci seal of approval, it has the Dr. Zucker seal of approval here in New York.
And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong when you're talking about the health of millions. To have that double check in place.
Right. So everybody is concerned about who gets what when. And I was very seriously toying with the idea of pretending that I jumped to the front of the line and got my vaccination already, but I didn't. I'm waiting for my turn. But I wanted to say it just to get a reaction out of people. I do that at work sometimes. On my way into the chamber, on the first floor of the Capitol building, there's a Dunkin' Donuts, and I usually cut through the Dunkin' Donuts to get to the other side where the stairs are, the $1 million staircases. And frequently when I cut through, there's usually a long line of people waiting to put their order in at Dunkin' Donuts. And I walk in and I say, I'm a member of the assembly. I get to cut. And I get the dirtiest looks. And I say, I'm just kidding. I'm going to keep going. So I thought I would do the same thing here today about
Better
the
be
vaccine.
careful. You might get a hot cup of coffee thrown at you.
You know, I've gotten some pretty dirty looks.
Yeah, I imagine you did.
So,
imagine you did.
Yeah.
But sadly, we see elected officials behave that way, and that was there's some evidence of that with representatives, mostly from other states, jumping the line to get access to the vaccine. And it was ironic. It was some of the naysayers that didn't, they poo-pooed the whole thing as fake.
Well, I think that we should be following science, and that we should follow science for everything, not just for, determining whether this is a real virus, and not just for determining whether we need the lockdowns and things like that. But when it comes to the cure, I think we need to follow science, and science says that our frontline workers need it first. They're the ones who are going to be the most susceptible and the most likely to be the super spreaders. Next, we need to do the most vulnerable populations, and we start there with our seniors and nursing homes, and evidence in New York State alone has proven that that's the case, that that's where we need it. And then we work our way down, and I think politicians are fairly close to the end of the line, except for those like you, Fred, who have self-inoculated by actually getting the disease.
I'm good for the next 3 or 4 months at least.
So I'm hoping that anybody that wants the vaccine over the course of the next, say, 3 or 4 weeks will be able to schedule an opportunity to get it. And once that starts to happen, I think we're going to start to see a reopening. I'm very confident and feeling optimistic about this being possible for the springtime.
Now, also, caught on the news last evening, the president, another 10 million or 10 billion with Pfizer?
Possibly. There was a mix-up. Go ahead.
What's that?
I think it's 100 million more Pfizer vaccines.
100 million with an M?
Yes.
Yeah. So we need something like 5 times our population in the number of vaccines in order for it to be effective, because of the distribution system and the way that it gets administered, and a half a dozen other reasons why. But
and the double shots.
And the double shots.
Double dose.
Right. Yeah. So
now the Moderna vaccine, very similar, 2 shots?
I don't think so. I think it's one shot.
Just one shot.
I think so, yeah.
And that there is not as sensitive to being kept at 94 or below.
Moderna's 2 as well.
Oh, Moderna is also 2?
Yes. The only difference is one is a 3-week gap, and the other is a 4-week gap for the second dose.
There you go. Well, for all those folks lining up to get their shots, have a nice time. I'll see you sometime in the spring when they get to people like me.
Yeah.
So, but this is it's good that we're talking about that. I mean, remember in the springtime we were just all mystified over how this horrific disease seemed to just be sweeping through, and we had no answers. A lot of people who, some of the science doubters are that they got conflicting reports. But I heard an interesting analysis of that the other day. Newscasts, broadcasts, whether it's CNN or Fox News or NBC or whoever it is, or even AP, were reporting things from medical journals. And medical journals are not intended for the general public. They are intended for the medical community. They have very specific information in it. There's very few gotchas in a medical journal article, and you need the gotcha to make the evening news. So lay people were interpreting very technical medical information and releasing it to the public, and then we saw the way it actually works. I know we like to think that our doctors and our medical professionals are infallible, but they go back and forth, and a lot of what happens in medicine is trial and error. So what we saw in the beginning was the first notion about what this was about, and we saw a change. So should you wear a mask? Should you not wear a mask? Does it contaminate surfaces? Doesn't it contaminate surfaces? This takes time to figure out, and we have figured it out in rapid speed. It's unbelievable.
It's when you look at what the scientists and researchers have done in a relatively short period of time, and even though we've been dealing with it since March, what goes into developing a vaccine and the research and just the trials and error with it, it was in warp speed. And the other thing too, there was so many, and there are still some naysayers that are out there, and there are still that, everybody in science, other capacities, leading to January could be worse than what we experienced in December after Thanksgiving, and yet you see the millions and millions of people that are just defying and traveling.
Yeah.
Against all of the medical, the scientific community's advice.
Right.
Yeah. And that's what scares you the most.
Yes, it is. It's going to be an interesting story, when we mapped the human genome 15 years ago, which isn't a very long time, that created the foundation for this type of vaccine.
The RNA-based vaccines.
Yeah, it's pretty extraordinary science that went into this and forward thinking, and pretty exciting because obviously it's going to get us out of this coronavirus mess. But as you look forward to other viruses that may be less life-threatening or less widespread, I think there's going to be opportunities to employ this type of technology to improve the quality of life of many other people who are suffering illness. It's related to a virus or some sort. Should be. I think we're at the cusp of some pretty dramatic medical breakthroughs.
Yeah, and we need them because we have lost life expectancy in the United States. It's anticipated that it could impact as much as 3 years of the average life expectancy of the average American as a result of the increased number of deaths. We've topped 3 million deaths in a single year for the first time in about 25 years. And not to end on a really sour note, but it's not just the virus that we're dealing with. The epidemic of opioid disease has taken an unprecedented toll on our communities. You and I both know people. If 1 week goes by and I don't read in the newspaper about some young person who died suddenly, and we know what the cause was, I must not have been reading the newspaper. Also, the epidemic of gun violence in this country. 41,000 people in this country in the past year have died at the hand of a gun, at the end of a gun, and most disturbingly, and here in Kingston too, children. And we have to get our arms around that. No matter what your politics is about the virus, about guns, about drugs, we have to get our handle on it if we want to preserve this society. I did a little quick math the other day, and this is going to be a very strange sounding statistic, but Kingston, New York, has a higher rate of gun violence than Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Chicago, the gun murder capital of the world, and we have a higher rate on a per capita basis. It's a fractional number. It's Chicago is 0.0002% of the population have fallen in gun violence, and Kingston is 0.002.4 of the population. The same numbers, but just very slightly different. But nobody is immune, and we have to take a careful look at this. Opioids, we have to restore our mental health services. The virus, we have to really hunker down and make sure that we do our part not to spread it. I mean, one thing about getting it, but we have to make sure we don't spread it. So on that note, I will stop all the bad news and just wish everybody a very, very happy holiday. And boy, I can't wait to 2021. It's a year.
Likewise here to all of our listeners, to you, Kevin, Dan, Fred, happy holidays, very, very Merry Christmas. And as I said to the caller, what hopefully will be a much, much happier, healthy, and safe 2021.
Dan, what's going on at Le Canard for the holidays?
We're using the whole building inside, and spacing is approximately 25% of what capacity could be, and we have on Thursday night, Thursday day and night is just our normal fare. We're open at 12 for lunch till 4, and then from 4 till 9 we'll be open for dinner.
A big takeout menu?
The takeout menu is just ditto what we have. Right. Everything that we have is really available for takeout, and a lot of people have been taking advantage of that over the last few weekends as we're coming in. And Thanksgiving takeout was huge, and also a takeout for Christmas is huge. The reservations for our 3 seatings on Christmas Day, 1, 4, and 6:30, are filled in pretty well. But pretty maxed out right now when it comes to the spacing that's necessary.
So if you're hungry, there's a lot of safe places to eat around town, and
Yes.
Kennard is one of them.
Yes, this is true. And we go to great lengths to keep everyone safe, and people are very conscious when they come in on doing the right thing.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy Christmas,
New Year.
happy holidays, happy New Year.
And thank you,
Absolutely.
listeners. Merry Christmas. We'll be back here next week. Stay safe. Be well.
Okay, thank you, Greg Shorvis, Kevin Cahill, and Fred Costello, and all of our call-in guests. And especially thank you, listeners, for being with us here today at the at KCR, Kingston Community Radio. And it's our last Super Wednesday of the year, Wednesday, December 23rd, 28 degrees here in Uptown Kingston. And this last portion of Kingston Community Radio was brought to you by Herzog's. Stop by Herzog's for all of your Christmas needs. We say that they take care of all of your household building and maintenance and painting needs. They have an incredible department for their for Christmas as well. As well as your Christmas tree from the Herzog's Christmas tree lot. A portion of that goes to the Boys and Girls Club of Ulster County. And with that, we wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and we'll be with you tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock a.m. And let's return you back to Real Country Radio.
Our roots run deep. Real country.
It can happen any moment without reason or rhyme. It might be right around the corner, or it'll come up from behind. A picture that I thought would fade, but I still clearly see. When the thought of you catches up with me, it can happen on a Sunday drive. The sky above, heading down some lonesome highway, then you come into view. Mile after mile goes by, but you're all I see. When the thought of you catches up with me, when the thought of you comes to mind, it'll carry me away to a better place in time. It can happen in the dead of night or any day of the week. Sometimes you'll come find me when I'm in bed asleep. I'll have that dream about you. I sure love what I see. When the thought of you catches up with me, when the thought of you catches up with me, when the thought of you catches up with me.
I called her up to say I'm sorry.
just can't have lunch today, 'cause the boss just called and he's flying in from LA. And as the phone rang, I remembered a time how simple things used to be. Then her voice came on the line, not her, but the answer machine. She said, I'm sorry, I can't take your call, 'cause I'm packing up to go away. And John, if that's you, you're just canceling lunch anyway. Oh, you used to find the time, but now you don't even try. So at the sound of the tone, you're on your own. Goodbye. I ran down to the street and I caught a cab. God, I had to get back home. But the house was empty except for the coat of home. And as the tears came, I remember the time, how happy we used to be. And I'll never forget the last words she ever said to me. She said, I'm sorry, I can't take your call, 'cause I'm packing up to go away. And John, if that's you, you're just canceling lunch anyway. Oh, you used to find the time, but now you don't even try. So at the sound of the tone, you're on your own. Goodbye. She said you used to find the time, but now you don't even try. So at the sound of